Chapter 265. The War Begins. The 9 revolutions Zhuang that you are now cultivating is what he brought out. Not only is it incomplete, there are also flaws. I'm sure you already know that only in the spirit sealing space can you break through to the 4th layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuang, and then you can continue to cultivate. The silhouette smiled and looked towards Kangqian. Kangqian nodded. If it wasn't for the sake of cultivating this 9 revolutions Zhuang, he would have already broken through the yuanying stage, and he might not be far from the outblood stage. But the complete 9 revolutions Zhuang doesn't have this flaw. No matter what realm cultivators can cultivate it. The silhouette paused for a moment and continued. The true 9 revolutions Zhuang is far more superior than you can imagine. It is something that I have spent tens of thousands of years to deduce, apart from toughening your physical body and cultivating your yuan shen. Its ultimate purpose is to help you comprehend the laws of force. Law of force. Kangqian couldn't help but wonder. Well, I forgot that your current realm is still far from touching the laws, but you will understand it later, provided you are able to accept my inheritance. The silhouette looked towards Kangqian and said in a deep voice, "Now, choose. Choose." How to choose? Kangqian's heart was turning over at the moment. Unexpectedly learning about the origin of the 9 revolutions Zhuang, which made him very unsettled. After cultivating the 9 turns Zhuang for so long, he naturally knew how powerful this technique was, and how it would help him in the future could be imagined. And this was merely still the incomplete 9 turns Zhuang, a technique that even Emperor Dan had told him he must obtain was definitely 1 in a million, and would be of unimaginable help to his cultivation path. Still hesitating, Kangqian Hegemony Blood, TSK, your hesitant character doesn't seem to be suitable for such a bloodline. The silhouette looked at Kangqian, who was still having a hard time choosing, and revealed a light smile of contempt. Kangqian's body suddenly shook. His head was held high, his gaze was straight, and a blazing purple light flashed in his eyes. Kangqian Hegemony Blood. Possessing this kind of bloodline, how can I retreat? Isn't this a disgrace to this bloodline? Kangqian's eyes instantly became firm, transmitting a blazing divine light. The purple blood in his body was still boiling, and an unrivaled battle intent swept out. It seems like you already have a choice. Looking at the change in Kangqian, a trace of a satisfied smile appeared in the eyes of the silhouette. Elder, begin. I am willing to accept the inheritance. Life and death without complaint. Kangqian said in a deep voice, a determined light in his eyes. Very good. You will be glad of your choice this time in the future, of course. Provided that you are able to live to accept the inheritance. After the silhouette finished speaking, his body suddenly disappeared, and the drop of violet Emperor's blood floating in the air suddenly erupted with a blinding light, followed by an unrivaled will that swept out and rushed in. This, Kangqian was shocked. This will was too strong. He barely had the slightest power to resist before he fell into the boundless ocean of consciousness, and his body collapsed onto the cold ground. Within the vast ocean of consciousness, Kangqian held his breath and carefully dealt with the surging giant waves of will around him. If his consciousness dissipated, then his body would become a walking corpse. This one of the 9 heavens, the spirit of the 9 secrets, the 9 changes of this one spirit, the return of all things to one. A familiar gongfu heart decision resounded in the ocean of consciousness. The loud voice was deafening, causing the entire ocean of consciousness to tumble up, and a shocking giant wave rushed towards Kangqian's consciousness. If the heart is as clear as ice, the collapse of the sky will not be shocking. In the face of such a terrifying, horrifying wave of consciousness, the accidentally obtained ice heart skill once again helped Kangqian. His entire person loomed immovably, like a giant peak, allowing the surrounding shocking waves to chop and beat him. At the same time, Kangqian quickly memorized the 9 turns Zhuang's recipe in his mind and began to receive the inheritance. This was a dangerous inheritance. Kangqian would be in danger of falling at any time. but now he no longer had the opportunity to regret, and could only fight for his life and a future. In the middle of the palace, the violet emperor's blood emitted a hazy light, wrapping Kang Chon's body. Thud. Hot flames were burning. The temperature in the endless sea of fire was very high. And while Kang Chon chose to accept the inheritance outside, the three of Shaojin were still worried about his safety. After several days and nights of constant bombardment, Little Gold had long been exhausted and collapsed in front of the palace door, looking at the closed door in front of him with a face full of unwillingness. Both of his fists were blood red and constantly bleeding, staining his entire body. "Brother," Shaojin hissed, his eyes red as fire. If his entire body hadn't lost all of its strength, he would have continued to keep blasting the palace doors in front of him. Ugh! Not far away, Brahma Heart and the third prince of the dragon had recovered from their injuries, and the two of them sighed darkly as they looked at the despairing Little Gold from the sidelines. Although it was necessary to see a person alive and a corpse dead after such a long time, they both felt that Kang Chon was hopeless. Unless Kang Chon temporarily broke through the shattering vacuum, it was impossible for him to support himself for such a long period of time under that white flame. Giant. I finally understand what my father meant when he said that cultivation is like walking on thin ice. Even if we have high talent, a fall is a fall. Third Prince Dragon sighed. Kang Chon's talent was so powerful that as long as he didn't die, he would definitely be a top figure in the cultivation world in the future. Amitabha Buddha, Junior Monk Master, also said that there are only strong and weak in the cultivation world. There is no such thing as a genius. Brahma Heart also sighed. Although the two of them were sighing, they were transmitting their voices, fearing that they would be heard by Little Jin, causing him to suffer irritation. They just stayed here, tending to Little Gold, while continuing to wait for the Kang Heaven, at least before breaking through the shattered vacuum realm. They didn't mind waiting here with Little Gold all the time, at least until Little Gold recovered his spirit. It was just that at this moment, they didn't know that Demon Heaven was leading a group of people who had already entered the endless sea of fire and would arrive here in a matter of days. Time was rapidly lost like this, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed, and the gate of the palace was still tightly closed, without the slightest movement. Someone. This day, the third prince of the dragon, who was closing his eyes to meditate, violently opened his two huge dragon eyes, and a stern eye **** came out, sweeping towards the blue sea of fire not far away. At the same time, Brahma Heart also opened his eyes and looked over with a frown, only to see that the blue sea of fire not far away suddenly turbulent. A powerful aura came out from it, and with it came a powerful figure. They came like sharp arrows *******, and in the twinkling of an eye, they had already covered the entire palace surroundings. Boom! Among this group of people, a black-clothed youth was the strongest. His body came up in the air. His eyes flashed with a refined light, and the black magic sword in his hand was transmitting a deep cold chill. Behind him were more than 50 peerless level trialists. Devil Heaven. Seeing this black-clothed youth, the third prince of the dragon and Brahma Heart instantly exclaimed out in shock, and then their brows furrowed. In such a situation, the visitors were not good. A great battle could not be avoided. At this time, Devil Heaven and the others also spotted the third Prince Long's trio, and immediately their eyes narrowed and their brows furrowed. "It's you guys." Devil Heaven's face sank. He didn't expect Kang Chon and the others to find this place first after they had left. The situation was a bit ominous. Outside the False God Palace, several hundred peerless powerhouses were spread all around, each one curiously surveying this mysterious palace. After all, they had been here before and hadn't found any palaces before. But now that a mysterious palace had suddenly appeared, it naturally made people very curious. The all-around radiant False God Palace loomed large, and under the gaze of the crowd, this palace appeared mysterious and unusual. unintentionally exuding a palpitating sense of oppression, as if it was facing a world-defying powerhouse. Before the palace, the third prince of the dragon and Fanshin stood up. The two of them looked grave, their deep gazes looking at the demon heaven and his party in front of them, their faces filled with vigilance. "I didn't expect you guys to come quite fast." Devil Heaven walked slowly. He was dressed in black. His figure was straight. His long eyebrows were in his temples. His eyes were like stars, although his complexion was calm. As he stepped out, a powerful sense of oppression rolled in. There was no deliberate effort to emit a powerful force. It was a natural aura. HMPH. Facing the powerful force that came from the oppression, the third prince of the dragon snorted coldly, his huge head raised high, his two cold eyes looking down at Demon Heaven and his group. Fanshin also stepped forward and stepped out, his eyes blazing with battle intent. The crowd not far away all watched this scene with rapt attention. They naturally knew very well that Devil Heaven and the third prince of the dragon were not on the same page. This time was really a narrow path. "Devil Sky, I happened to be looking for you. I didn't expect you to send yourself to the door. Today's battle will be a wash of shame." The third prince of the dragon's eyes were soaring with essence, and he coldly drank. After refining together with Kangchan and the others for half a year, his strength had increased a lot, and he was full of confidence at this moment. "Is that so?" Devil Heaven smiled coldly at his words, and the cold light in his eyes came out. The defeated general also dares to speak of courage. "Last time I was able to defeat you. Today I will be able to kill you." Boom. There is no unnecessary nonsense. The sealed spirit space in the supreme powerhouse a meet is to break out fierce battle. The Devil Sky magic knife breaks the sky. The Dragon 3 Prince Dragon, whizzing 9 days. The strength of the two people let all people shocked. They fight where the area has become a forbidden land. Other people do not dare to step into. Where's Kangchan? While the third Prince of Dragon and Demon Sky were fighting, Windless among the 7 heroes of Heavenly City frowned. He scanned the surroundings, but he found that he had not seen Kangchan's figure, which made him puzzled. When did the palace gates close?" Devil Peak suddenly exclaimed. The 7 males of Celestial City immediately looked towards the palace, and their pupils all shrunk. Indeed, the palace gates had closed at some point. How could the gate close for no reason? Could it be? Windless eyes condensed, combined with the information that Kangchan was absent. He expected that Kangchan must have already entered within the palace, and might be in the process of seizing the treasure. The others of the 7 heroes of Heavenly City weren't fools either, including Devil Peak, who thought of this situation, and immediately each of their faces changed drastically. Let's go in. We definitely can't let him get the treasures in the palace," Windless coldly shouted. "But Kangchan's strength is so strong that it's not much worse than my big brother. And at this time, my big brother is being held back by the third prince of the dragon. Who can fight against him?" Devil Peak said in a deep voice. The 7 males of Heavenly City also fell silent at his words. A sense of powerlessness rose in their hearts when they thought of that purple-robed youth filled with domineering aura. HMPH. The wrath of the crowd cannot be committed. Tell everyone that there are treasures in the palace too. Break through the shattered vacuum realm. There is no fear that they won't be moved. I don't believe that Kangchan is able to fight against more than 300 of our invincible powerhouses all by himself, Windless said with a cold snort. The other people's eyes instantly lit up, and they all understood what Windless meant. At that moment, the 50 or so peerless powerhouses under Demon Sky began to press towards the palace, and those other peerless powerhouses not far away who were watching the battle were also attracted to the palace, and one by one they looked towards this place. After all, they were all clear that the most important purpose of this trip was this mysterious palace. Gentlemen, within the palace there are treasures that can make us break through the shattered vacuum realm. At this time the door is closed, That is Kang Chan seizing the treasure inside. Let's rush in together. This chance is for everyone. We can't let him get it alone. A loud roar came from amongst the crowd. This was deliberately voiced by a peerless powerhouse arranged by Windless. Before the Power God Palace, Brahma Heart's face changed at the words. Then he laughed coldly in his heart. It just so happens that there is no way to open the gate of the palace. Since you guys want to go in, let's go in. Thinking that, he grabbed the injured little gold and flew into the distance.